الله أكبر الله أكبر.
ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. أما بعد, Assalamu alaikum. Today we continue with our study of the book of Riyad-us-Saliheen, and we continue from hadith number 4 as far as I remember. And in the previous two lessons I mentioned some of what the ulama, the scholars rahimahullah, said regarding the chapter of ikhlas. And ikhlas means to dedicate all of our worship to Allah alone, and to want His face, and to be able to be rewarded with seeing His face, and also to want the hereafter, not the reward and the things of this world, as well as being fearful of His punishment. All of that comes under ikhlas. Today I will read from hadith number 4 inshallah. Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah said, وعن أبي عبد الله جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري رضي الله عنهما. Now the authority of Abu Abdullah, Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari, him and his father were both companions. So in Arabic for that we can say رضي الله عنهما, may Allah be pleased with both of them. قال كنا مع النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام في غزاة، فقال إن بالمدينة لرجالا ما سرتم مسيرا ولا قطعتم واديا إلا كانوا معكم حبسهم المرض، وفي رواية إلا شاركوكم في الأجر. رواه مسلم رحمه الله. He said we were with the Prophet ﷺ in a battle. When they say in a battle, it can be on an expedition, going to and coming back, as well as of course taking part in the battle. But most of the time when we say, or the Sahaba say, and we repeat after them, they were in a battle, that generally means they were going or coming from. And that sometimes in some hadith you can see clearly that they say we were on the way or on the way back, as we will see now in the next hadith coming after this one inshallah. When the Prophet ﷺ said, indeed in Medina in Arabic means city or town. When we say al-Madina, most of you probably know we mean the town or the city, which means the city of the Prophet ﷺ, even though he was born in Mecca, as you know, and he grew up in Mecca, and he spent most of his adult life in Mecca. But Medina, due to its importance and due to the help and assistance that the Ansar, the helpers, gave to the Prophet ﷺ, became Madinatul Rasul ﷺ. So it shows the importance of not only where the person is born and how it starts, but also, and even more so, the importance of how it finishes. Because at the beginning everything is small and weak, but we should not really worry about that, because we should worry about how things finish and how they develop. The Prophet ﷺ said in Medina there are men who you have not marched anywhere, or you have not gone through a valley, except they were with you, only that some illness detained them, and in another narration they shared with you in the reward. Imam Muslim rahimahullah narrated this hadith, and we will take the next hadith because both of them are very similar in meaning. Then I will say some of what the ulama rahimahullah said. ورواه البخاري عن أنس رضي الله عنه, and Imam al-Bukhari narrated on the authority of Anas, قال رجعنا من غزوة تبوك مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. تبوك أحيانا ينصرف وأحيانا لا ينصرف كما سنرى إن شاء الله. Anas said رضي الله عنه, and as you know Anas, his kunya is Abu Hamza, and he served the Prophet ﷺ from the time he came to Medina until the death of the Prophet ﷺ, which was 10 years. So since the time the Prophet ﷺ migrated to Medina, I can remove one of the microphones. Because brothers gave it to me for reasons, so I have to ask their permission.
Well, this is
We don't need this.
no, we don't-
Okay. We don't need this one.
No, it's actually making an interference.
Really? Okay. Because I just want to make sure nothing is disconnected. That's all. Anas radiallahu anhu, Anas bin Malik, was, as I said, he served voluntarily at the request of his own mother, the Prophet ﷺ, for 10 years. Since the time the Prophet ﷺ did hijrah until he died. That shows that he was first a young boy, then he matured into a man. All the time he was serving the Prophet ﷺ. That shows that there is nothing wrong to serve good people, especially the ulama. And that service should be within the limits set by the Sharia. And the person who is served should try his best not to be, if that service takes the person to be arrogant or otherwise in some way contradict the Sharia, then of course it's not advisable, or it can even be haram. But real ulama, they never have that problem, because real ulama, like the Prophet ﷺ, even though people used to serve him, he used to be very humble. So he said, we returned from the Battle of Tabuk with the Prophet ﷺ, and we will see the Battle of Tabuk. We will talk inshallah about it in more detail when we come to the chapter of Tawbah, which comes after this chapter. Alaykum-as-salam wa rahmatullah. I think it's become worse since we removed that. But anyway, hopefully inshallah should manage. But Ghazwat Tabuk was the last battle the Prophet ﷺ fought, and the last expedition he undertook, which happened in the year 9th after Hijrah. In fact, Ghazwat Tabuk never happened, and we will discuss that later, like I said, but inshallah I will say a bit more when we reach it. The Prophet ﷺ said, Inna aqwaman khalafna bil Medina, that there are people or men whom we left behind in Medina. Ma salakna shi'ban, ay tariqan fil jabal, wala wadiyan illa wa hum ma'ana. We have not crossed a path, or we have not been on a mountain path, or through the valleys, meaning we've not gone anywhere except there with us. Habasahum al-udhr. They had an excuse, and that is why they were detained. The reason the Shaykh gave these two ahadith in the chapter of Ikhlas is because those people left behind, they with their intention wanted to go and to fight. Because as we will see, because I talked a little bit about jihad last lesson, the issue of jihad is very important to understand for everyone. So I wrote some things that I have in my book about what Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said, one of the great ulama of the past, and actually he is the best student, the one who inherited the knowledge and understanding of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, what he said about jihad, because this man is amazing in examining the workings of the heart, and that is where jihad starts and ends. For that reason, the Shaykh Imam al-Nawawi he put these two ahadith in this chapter because of the intentions. So those people who could not go forth, they had the intention to help and assist the truth, the religion of Allah. One of the ways to do so is to defend it, and to defend it from those who encroach upon it and desire to destroy it by destroying its followers, because a religion is alive through its followers. So if there are no followers left, there is no religion left. It will only be left in books. For that reason, those people who were left behind, they were ill, as in some narrations, and in some narrations they had an excuse, a valid excuse for which reason they couldn't join them. But they joined them in reward, in that they wanted, and as we will see, the famous hadith about the person who intends to do good, he gets reward as if he has done that good. Of course, I must note here that the person who intends to do good is equal to the one doing, but in the actual reward that they will get, or in the degrees, the person who does it actually, he gets more reward, as it is in the same hadith we will see inshallah, that if he does it, he gets 10 multiplied, or more, up to 700 and more. Because the person who says, I would like to do sadaqah, and he means it, I would like to give something in charity or to help needy or something, he's not like the person who really does it. Naam. So that's very important for us to understand, so that not only do we intend to do good, but we translate it into action. Now, and the next hadith that we have is the hadith on the authority of Yazid معن بن يزيد بن الأخنس رضي الله عنهم. وقال المؤلف رحمه الله وهو أبوه وجده صحابيون. Him and his father and his grandfather are all Sahaba. The only family that has 4 generations of Sahaba is the family of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, because his father is Sahabi himself, his children and some of his grandchildren. No? So that's the only family, the ulama said, that has 4 generations of Sahaba. Who is a Sahabi? A Sahabi, according to Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, and that he collected all the statements of the ulama before him, and he is from the ulama who lived in the 8th, 9th year after Hijrah. He said that is every person who met the Prophet ﷺ and believed in him and died upon that belief. That means that the person who is blind and he did not see the Prophet ﷺ, but he met him, and believed and died upon that belief, is a Sahabi. A Sahabi means the companion of the Prophet ﷺ, and that is the correct, or the one that looks more correct from the sayings of the ulama regarding who a Sahabi is. So the narrator Abu Yazid Ma'an bin Yazid bin al-Akhnas, his father and his grandfather are all from them. Some families, their whole generations believed in the Prophet ﷺ, and of course a requirement of belief is not just something we believe or say in the heart. A requirement of belief is to translate it into actions. And they also said that these 3 great men, they all took part in the Battle of Badr, which happened in the year 2 after Hijrah. And that is a great honor indeed, because that battle, the Muslims, they did not really intend, as we will see in the story coming inshallah later, they did not intend to go out to fight. We will discuss that later as well inshallah. قال كان أبي يزيد أخرج دنانير. اليوم يزيد ليس موجودا. Today brother Yazid is not here, because we have Yazid in the hadith. He said, my father Yazid, he أخرج دنانير يتصدق بها. My father, he wanted to do some sadaqah, so he gave some dananir. Dinar used to be a gold coin, and dirham used to be a silver coin. So unfortunately we don't have them. We have now little bits of paper or some metal, which is not really worth much, but in themselves they're not worth anything, to be honest, because the paper. But the ulama, the majority, vast majority, they say that this now has become the replacement of those gold and silver coins, so we deal with them. But if we had gold and silver, it would be nice, because that's the real money, really. But dinar used to be a gold coin that used to weigh 4 something grams. So 1 dinar, you can calculate the equivalent of 1 dinar is how much a gram of gold is worth, then multiply it by, I think, 4.4 or 4.3, something like that, grams. The same applies to zakah. Zakah used to be calculated, zakah of gold, zakah of silver. Whoever used to have gold and whoever used to have silver, they used to calculate it according to the weight, and they used to pay it. Nowadays we calculate zakah in cash if someone has cash, and that's the most probably likely scenario, and that there is a dilemma that faces the ulama, or faced, whether we equivalent we take from gold or from silver. So some ulama said from gold, some said from silver. I think to take from silver, because silver is lower, the nisab, the minimum threshold per year that the person must calculate, Islamic year I mean. We will talk about zakah a little bit later in more detail, inshallah. It is better to calculate it by silver, many ulama said, because it is better for the poor people. قال كان أبي يزيد أخرج دنانير يتصدق بها فوضعها عند رجل في المسجد. So that person, his father, whose name was Yazid, he wanted to do sadaqah, and he gave some dananir. So he had some money, because to put a few dinar is not easy for an average person even. Because that means, let's say dananir generally at least 3. So that means 12 gram. If let's say gram worth now 50 pounds of gold, and you get the picture, it's more than 500 pounds worth. So that person, he wanted to do at least some sadaqah, so he gave that money, or that those coins, he left it with a man. So entrusted him to find someone who is in need in the masjid, and to give it to someone who he knows to be in need. فَجِئْتُ فَأَخَذْتُهَا. So his own son came and took them, because he didn't know that, or maybe he knew, because it doesn't say here. فَأَتَيْتُهُ بِهَا. So I came to my father, and obviously he informed him. فَقَالَ وَاللَّهِ مَا إِيَّاكَ أَرَدْتُ. And he said, I didn't intend them for you, meaning his own son. فخاصمته إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم فقال لك ما نويت يا يزيد أي الأب ولك ما أخذت يا معن أي الابن. رواه البخاري رحمه الله. And the son Ma'an bin Yazid, his father was Yazid, he said, I argued with my father until we reached it and we took it to the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ said, you get what you intended to his father. So he intended to help the needy or the poor or someone who is in need. And for you, he said to the son, what you took. That is because the ulama said he was in need. Here it doesn't say, sometimes in the Sharia when they say sadaqah, it can mean sadaqah which is obligatory, like Allah said in Surah At-Tawbah, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينِ, in Surah At-Tawbah verse number 60. That is the verse, Surah At-Tawbah is number 9, and that is verse number 60. That is the ayah in which Allah explains who deserved the sadaqah, who deserved the zakah. There are 8 categories mentioned in that ayah. So sometimes sadaqat, which is the plural of sadaqah, can mean zakah, and sometimes sadaqah can mean voluntary charity, something that is not obligatory upon the people who have the nisab, but they do it because they want to do it, and they want the reward. Here we can't see if it was that or the other. So it is possible, both possibilities. That is why, brothers and sisters, you get sometimes difference of opinion between the ulama. One of the reasons is because one alim may take one opinion, because he will say this is probably zakah. So he will extract one ruling from that. Another alim will say it is not obligatory, it's mustahab. So he will give another fatwa. So it's very important for us when we try to learn, and especially if we want to go deeper and we are students of knowledge in reality, it's very important for us to analyze the reasons for the scholars differing and not to think bad of the scholars. There are books, small books authored on the subject. One of the best is if not the best, is what Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah authored by the title of Raf'ul Malam an al-A'immat al-A'lam. And that is removing the blame. I've seen it translated into English. Removing the blame from the great scholars. And he talked about some of the differences or some of the causes of differences between the ulama, the real ulama rahimahullah. Also we have a small booklet published by Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen and written by him rahimahullah, the causes of differences, Asbab al-Khilaf or kama qala rahimahullah, the causes of difference between the ulama. So in this hadith we don't actually know for sure whether that sadaqah was zakah or not, because it's permissible for someone to delegate someone and say, this is my zakah. Anyone you know comes under those 8, you can give them. And we will, like I said, explore the issue of zakah in more detail inshallah in the future. So here we have a lot of fawaid. One of them is that it's permissible to delegate someone, as the ulama said, and to do tawqeel, to make someone responsible for distributing the zakah, your or anyone else's. Like now we do, sometimes we leave it in the masjid. And the masajid, they have responsibility, or anyone else, whether it's people or mosques, they have responsibility to distribute it, not to organizations, because zakah is for people, not organizations, unless those organizations distribute it to people. So it's not permissible to give zakah to build mosque like many people collect. Many people collect, they say, Akhwan, give zakah. What's this? What's zakah? Zakah, building mosques is not from zakah. Because Allah said, Innama sadaqat. Innama means only. And Allah said people, there is no, fi sabilillah is not masjid, otherwise everything fi sabilillah. Now, so it's very important to know. So we have to have at least basic knowledge about zakah if we are entrusted like that man was, with who should receive it. And also there are many other things to do with it, which inshallah I will mention later. It looks most likely that the sadaqah that the man gave radiallahu anhu was not zakah, even though there is a possibility that it could have been zakah. Why? Because generally it's not permissible for someone like the man to give zakah to someone who he is obliged to support anyway. For example, he is not allowed to give zakah to his wife, because his wife's sustenance is upon him anyway. He is obliged to do that. The same applies to his children. Some ulama said it is possible that it was zakah, and the reason the Prophet allowed, they said, is because maybe it wasn't for that obligation. So for example, that man sustains anyway his family. But if his son is in need, or his daughter for that case, is in need, but not to do with that, meaning not to do with food and living and flat or house and things like that. But for example, they've had an accident, they have to pay, and it was their fault. But in my view, it's better to think that it wasn't zakah, because it is easier to make someone who is 1 or 2 to say they made a mistake than 20 or 30 or 200. So it's very important for us to bear that in mind. When we, as people or students of knowledge, when we analyze an issue, it shouldn't be easy for us to dismiss majority of ulama. It shouldn't be easy for us. Even one alim, it shouldn't be easy. But especially imagine the likes of Imam Ahmad and Sahaba and things like that. So that is what we get. And of course the reason Imam Nawawi brought is because what the Prophet ﷺ said, that you get what you intended. And this is in affirmation of the hadith that we learned at the beginning. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى. That the authenticity of actions is according to their intentions. And every person shall get what they intended. So this man, he intended to do sadaqah, so he gets the reward for that, and he has actually done it. Who takes it? And the Prophet approved his son taking, because the ulama said he was in need of it. Now, and this hadith that Imam Al-Nawawi said was narrated or collected by Imam Al-Bukhari rahimahullah, who, as you know, his collection of hadith is the most authentic of any book. The next hadith is a very important hadith as well, on the authority of Abu Ishaq Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas. Normally we know that his name, Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas radiyallahu anhu, he is of course one of the 10 promised Jannah in one hadith. The 10 we say because in one hadith, because there are other Sahaba promised Jannah, promised paradise in their lifetime in other hadith, like the wives of the Prophet also, like Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet also, like Hassan Hussein, the grandchildren of the Prophet also, like Bilal, the Mu'adhin of the Prophet also, like Thabit bin Qas bin Shammas, many others who were promised Jannah in their lifetime. But we say 10 because they are all mentioned in one hadith. So Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas radiyallahu anhu is one of them. And as the habit of Imam Al-Nawawi is a very nice habit, he gives us the full, when he mentions them for the first time in his book, he gives us their kunya, their nickname, they are named by their children, or they may not even have children by that name. He gives us the full, and in this case he said, عن أبي إسحاق سعد بن أبي وقاص مالك بن أهيب بن عبد مناف بن زهرة بن كلاب بن مرة بن كعب بن لؤي القرشي الزهري or الزهري رضي الله عنه. So his from Kilab and onwards, his genealogy meets with that of the Prophet ﷺ. So he is from Quraysh, from the same tribe, and the sub-tribe of Zuhra. And he said, أحد العشرة المشهود لهم بالجنة رضي الله عنه. And one of the 10 for whom the Prophet ﷺ said they would be in Jannah. And I say, and I add for our fa'idah in one hadith, so that people don't think that there are only 10 from the Sahaba who were given the good news of Jannah in their lifetimes. قال, he said, جاءني رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يعودني عام حجة الوداع أو الوداع كلام صحيح, that at the time of the Hajjatul Wada' or Wida', both are correct. At the time of the pilgrimage Hajj. Some said Hajjatul Balagh, the Hajj of delivering. Some said Hajjatul Islam, the Hajj of Islam, because Hajj is one of Hajj. One. Because the Prophet ﷺ only performed one Hajj, and he performed 4 Umrahs. The Prophet ﷺ never performed more than one Hajj. So he said the Prophet ﷺ came to me, visiting me. Ya'uduni they use when the person is ill, not yazuruni, ya'uduni. He was visiting me when I was ill in the year of Hajjatul Wada'. Min waja'in ishtadda bi, from some pain or illness that was very severe. In some narrations, I was fearing to die from it. فقلت يا رسول الله إني قد بلغ بي من الوجع ما ترى. He said, "O Messenger of Allah," that's how they used to address the Prophet ﷺ. They never used to address the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Muhammad, or even Ya Abul Qasim by the kunya. They used to say, Ya Rasulullah, most of the time, Ya Nabi Allah sometimes, O Messenger of Allah most of the time. And that shows that what Allah told them not to call the Prophet ﷺ how they call each other. And now, knowledgeable people should not also be called like we call each other. The ulama, we should respect them. Some brothers, they don't know, maybe they should learn. They write even to brothers 20 years their senior, and some of them sheikhs, they write bro. That is totally unacceptable. And in front of me, someone was talking to some, you know Abu Usama, our brother Shaikh Abdus-Salaam. In front of me, some young boy came and said to him, bro. Abu Usama's youngest child is like him, I think. And it's not correct, ikhwan. Yes, we don't want to exaggerate, but we don't want to exaggerate in disrespect as well. Bro. He knows nothing, zero almost. It's not correct. We all try to minimize our texts. Some write AA. First I thought it's like RAC or something. AA. I thought, what's the AA? Then WAW something. SubhanAllah. Or IA. Coded messages, you know. Inshallah. Then I realized later all these are coded for the name of Allah. I don't know if it's permissible to do it. Anyway, As-Salam is one of the names of Allah. Alaykum salam. Marhaba. In any case, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about how they used to address the Prophet. So, Ya Rasulullah, he said, you see what the illness I have. وَأَنَا ذُو مَالٍ وَلَا يَرِثُنِي إِلَّا ابْنَةٌ لِي. And my immediate inheritor is only a daughter I have. At that time, Sa'd only had one daughter. أَفَأَتَصَدَّقُ بِثُلُثَيِّ مَالِي. Should I do sadaqah with 2/3 of my wealth? And he said, I am wealthy, meaning he has money and wealth. Mal, ikhwan, doesn't only include cash. Mal, the ulama said, it's called mal لأن النفوس تميل إليه. Mal is called in Arabic, it's all wealth including cash, land, any possessions, houses, animals, in our time maybe cars and so on. Everything the person possesses is mal in Arabic. So he said, should I give sadaqah, meaning to other people, 2/3 of my wealth? He said, no. قلت فالشطر يا رسول الله. So about half? He said, no. He said, how about third? فالثلث. He said, الثلث والثلث كثير أو كبير. He said, third is okay, but even third, some ulama understood it to be majority. They understood it to be, even third is too much. Some understood to mean third, like Imam Shafi'i. Third is kathir fi thawab, is a lot in reward. The Prophet ﷺ then said, إِنَّكَ إِنْتَظَرْ وَرَثَتَكَ أَغْنِيَاءَ خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أَنْ تَظَرَهُمْ عَالَةً يَتَكَفَّفُونَ النَّاسِ. He said, for you to leave your inheritors wealthy is better than to leave them poor, begging people. وَإِنَّكَ لَمْ تُنْفِقَ نَفَقَةً تَبْتَغِي بِهَا وَجْهَ اللَّهِ. وهذا موضع الشاهد. إِلَّا أُجِرْتَ عَلَيْهَا حَتَّى مَا تَجْعَلُ فِي امْرَأَتِكَ أي في فمها. That you do not spend anything seeking the face of Allah, except you will be rewarded even what you put in the mouth of your wife. قال فقلت يا رسول الله أخلف بعد أصحابي. Will I be left after my companions? They were fearing to die in Mecca because they did hijrah from Mecca. And as you know, Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas from the Muhajirin, from Quraysh, he did hijrah for Allah. So they used to fear to be left and to die in Mecca, which they left for Allah. Even though it's their city, ikhwan. Imagine you grew up all your life in Nottingham. You left it for some other place for the sake of Allah, and then you are in Nottingham. Everything is familiar to you. You know it as they say, like the back of your hand. Yet you are not happy to die there because you want to please Allah. That's how much they used to love Allah. So he said, will I be left after my friends? Those Muhajirun and Ansar and others, especially Muhajirun. قال إنك لن تخلف فتعمل عملا تبتغي به وجه الله إلا ازددت به درجة ورفعة. The Prophet ﷺ gave him good news. Even if you stay here and you do good deeds that with which you seek the face of Allah, except you will increase in your degree and in your highness. ولعلك أن تخلف حتى ينتفع بك أقوام ويضرك بك آخرون. And maybe it may be, he said, the Prophet ﷺ is saying to him, you may be left and you may live long, and that's how it happened. He lived long, radiallahu anhu, so that some people will benefit through you and some will be harmed by you. And he is the one who conquered Iraq under whose command. And he was one of the great generals or leaders of the Muslim armies, Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu. And though he took part in so many battles, like Khalid ibn al-Walid, he died in his bed. He wasn't killed on the battlefield. Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu died in his house. So the ulama said this statement of the Prophet ﷺ means that the Muslims will benefit through you, and even the non-Muslims who become conquered by Muslims, when the Muslims apply the law of Allah in relation to them, they benefit, because they live, number one, in justice without dhulm, even if they remain non-Muslims. And of course, if they become Muslims, it's even better for them. Because before the Muslims took over these lands, the people, and of course now, people are being totally dhulm. They have taxes, they don't even know why. Like now, we have taxes from everywhere. I'm talking about not here only. Other countries, soon they might put tax for breathing. How much you breathe? It's 50p. So the Muslims, when they rule, they don't impose dhulm. Even the jizya that the non-Muslims pay, and the correct opinion about jizya is that all non-Muslims and Ahlul Dhimma, even the mushriks, can live in a Muslim state. They pay according to their ability. So those women, first of all, are not obliged to pay anything. Children, even more so. Only men who work. All these ikhwan, many Muslims don't know. Therefore, they can't relate to the non-Muslims who feel Islam is a threat to them, because the Jaloon, the liars, are telling them that. Because Islam is the best and the most just system, because it's the system of the most just Allah. For that reason, Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, through him many people benefited, even the non-Muslims. And that's how a Muslim should be, that through him even non-Muslims benefit, even animals should benefit, because they don't oppress anyone. And of course, those who oppress others, they will be in their minds harmed. Those who do dhulm to themselves and to others. Now, Allahumma, the Prophet then made dua, and this shows his tawadu'. First of all, his humbleness by visiting Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, who is lower than him, than the Prophet ﷺ. He used to visit those of his Sahaba who used to become ill. Secondly, his humbleness is shown by him loving his Sahaba and making dua for them. He said, قال اللهم أمضي أي أكمل وأتمم لأصحابي هجرتهم ولا تردهم على أعقابهم. He said, oh Allah, complete for my companions and my friends their hijrah, and don't allow them to turn back. لكن البائس سعد بن خولة. But the one who is really, we feel sorry, the Prophet said, or the one who is sorry is Sa'd bin Khawla. يرثي له رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أم مات بمكة. And Sa'd bin Khawla, he died radiallahu anhu in Mecca, and the Prophet ﷺ was feeling pity for him. So this shows exactly what Allah said about the Prophet ﷺ in the Quran. In Surah, at the end of Surah At-Tawbah, بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. That he is, alayhi salatu wassalam, is kind and merciful towards the believers. And that's how we should try to be. Muttafaq alayhi, narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, and this hadith has many fawaid, but the one we are interested in is تَبْتَغِي بِهَا وَجْهَ اللَّهِ. The Prophet said, anything you do seeking the face of Allah, you will be rewarded, and you will increase, Allah will increase your degree. And also, as you know, the Sahaba started very small, weak, and so on, to the extent that the Prophet ﷺ feared to be killed, and the mushriks of Quraysh, they tried to kill the Prophet ﷺ. That's how most people do, if not all, when they run out of proofs, they run out of hujjah, they try to eliminate the person talking. And that is why it's very important in some instances to protect the da'wah by protecting those who carry the da'wah. So if it is necessary in some cases to have security for some ulama, then that's okay, because they may be harmed. And we have many examples, unfortunately, when the ulama were assassinated. So, and at the end, as you know, Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, who left everything for the sake of Allah, he died fi qasrihi, mata fi qasrihi. He died in his palace. They became to own palaces. Abu Hurairah, who used to lie on the ground because of hunger, as we will see in Riyad-us-Saliheen, inshallah, he became at some point Amir of Medina. He used to have house, big, not house, palace, is like more than this masjid. Anas bin Malik, who was servant of the Prophet ﷺ, when he used to miss Eid, he used to pray with his family and staff, Eid, Salatul Eid, in his qasr, in his palace. So Ikhwan, as Ibn Taymiyyah, قال Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, al-ibratu laysa binuqsani al-bidayat. And Ibn Taymiyyah, I advise you to read as many books as possible you can from him, because this man is special, rahimahullah. Allah gave him something which he didn't give other people. He used to say, the importance is not how you start in a weak way, وَلَكِنْ بِكَمَالِ النِّهَايَاتِ, but how you finish. Because every beginning is small, like the Sahaba radiallahu anhu did. And we, all of us, recite what duha, correct? We sometimes hear the Imam reciting that, وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. And the akhirah, or the last life, is better for you than the first, or the close life. So even in the dunya, وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلتَّقْوَى وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, that the end is for those who fear Allah. And that starts with the heart, very important. Inshallah, I will stop here because I feel we have 3 important hadith coming up, and I thought we may be able to finish them, but I will also delay this quote from Ibn al-Qayyim to next week. If you have any questions, please ask. Otherwise, as usual, we will meet 7:30, inshallah, UK time, because some of those who watch are not from the UK. 7:30 UK time, inshallah, next Thursday. وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. نعم. تفضل.
My own question is regarding zakat, because I'm confused, because sometimes some people will say the zakat you need to pay is from your savings. some people say it is part of your income, what is left. So, can you please shed more light on, for example, someone who is working and collects money monthly? How does he pay zakah? Does he calculate the zakah on his annual income or on his monthly income?
Now, the brother is asking about the correct definition of zakah, whether it's savings or otherwise. First of all, brothers and sisters, we must know that zakah is only obligatory for wealthy people. So if someone is struggling to keep ends meet, then by default he can't pay zakah to someone and he needs zakah. Correct or not? That's logically. Illogically, he has to pay everything else. Because zakah, Allah said, لِلْفُقَرَاء, the first word He said, وَالْمَسَاكِينَ. Everything mentioned in the Quran, especially together like faqir, miskin, both mean poor person. So why did Allah mention it twice? Because there is a small difference. Faqir is the person who finds nothing. That's the one we have in mind. Like some brother said, he eats ice cream so he can't receive zakah. Some brother said to me. So for him, eating ice cream is a sign of wealth, which costs 50p. So I don't know how he arrived at that. And some ice cream, as you know, is 10p. Maybe he means the expensive one, £1. So it's not correct. Zakah in Islam we have, alhamdulillah, Allah didn't leave it to us. He said what I said briefly in the lecture, nisab. Nisab is the minimum threshold that the person must have for 1 year. That is the general rule. There are some exceptions to that, like the produce of the land. But we're not talking about that because most people, they don't deal with that. Most people deal, like the brother said, with cash most of the time, i.e. What the person gets in their wages. For that reason, if the nisab reaches, if we take in silver 595 grams of silver, however much that is worth in cash, let's say, for argument's sake, it's 800 pounds. That means the 800 pounds the person must have, if we take Ramadan to Ramadan. Some people do like that because it's easy for them. So it's Islamic months, I again underline that. Let's say from Ramadan till next Ramadan, he had 800, wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah, he had 800, he doesn't at all need it. All the time. 1 month, 750, because he needed 50 pounds. In that case, if it is even 1 day, he's not obliged to pay. But it's better to pay. But he's not, if he doesn't, there is no sin on him. So that is what is totally he doesn't need. So if he has to take it for bills, for rent, for his expenditure and doing shopping and other things, means he doesn't have to pay zakah. He may need to be paid zakah being a miskin. Because a miskin is someone who has but not enough. Most of us may become under miskin. I doubt there are many fuqara in certain countries like Britain or maybe some others where they don't find anything, but we either come under miskin, and some ulama reversed it, but anyway they all agreed that there is one person who has nothing and there is one who has something but it's not enough for him. Or we come under wal-gharimin, the people who have debts. They borrowed from people with the intention to repay it on the time that we agreed, but something happened and we couldn't do it. Does it clarify? Alhamdulillah. I think this brother was before you. So.
Is it possible for the wife to pay zakah to the husband?
Alhamdulillah. Naam, it is possible. The question is about wife paying zakat to the husband, because the wife is not obliged to sustain her husband. Those people who say women's rights, they should think about that. Because the woman in Islam enjoys a very privileged position. where she doesn't, throughout her life, she doesn't have to earn 1p since she's a girl until she dies. I don't know how can anyone say that women are oppressed except majnoon, mad, or deliberate person, meaning he deliberately wants Islam to look bad. And I think the second is true for many people who try to say that. In Islam, because she's not responsible at all for her husband, her children, all the children, because she has children either from one husband or if she divorced from another husband maybe, all of them, every husband has to support them. She doesn't have to support any of them. But she has to obviously look after other things. Who can say, oh Allah, I would like that life? As men, we are obliged to support them. So who in his right mind can say that she has problem, حقوق المرأة, and all the time they say women's rights. What women's rights? We don't have a problem. Islam gave and elevated the woman to such heights never seen before and since. Which system elevated the woman to that height? The system that says she must work and pay taxes? Who? Even if she is pregnant, mashallah. Who can in his right mind say that? Nah, so a woman can do that, because we have hadith of Ibn Mas'ud whose wife asked that, and Ibn Mas'ud said that we deserve it, and the Prophet agreed. Brother, you were after him.
Yeah,
I'll come to you.
I was ask you a question regarding the tax system in Islam. So
The what?
The tax system.
Tax.
Yeah. So you got the zakat. So would there be any other sort of taxes in Islamic government on the masses?
It's not really zakah, it's not a tax, because tax is dhulm, ikhwan.
Okay.
I'm not telling you that you shouldn't pay tax. We only pay tax, even ask the English Joe public outside, they only pay tax not to be in prison. That's it. That is the only, I can tell the BBC. You guys are paying tax not to be in prison. That is the only reason anyone pays tax in any country, I tell you straight. Some who are wealthy, they can afford other things where they divest, so-called, their money, they pay less tax, correct or not? So-called legally avoiding tax. Everyone knows it. I'm not saying anything secret. So to call zakat tax is really not accurate or correct, because zakah is not zakah. The meaning of zakah is either growth, nama, or tathir, is purification. So it's not correct to call zakah tax. Now, brother?
Zakat, if you have a certain amount of money after Ramadan, say.
Yeah.
So what if you have that money, but you're spending it on trivial things like, say you have a 50-inch TV, or you want a 70-inch. So it's like
There is a 70-inch TV.
700.
No.
So yeah, so like say if you want to just
No, Ikhwan, anything you need, or let's say some people may call it luxury items, but some things you need, but that money is totally out of that. So if you, for example, let's say you want to buy a Bentley. Let's say, because some people think, today my son said to me, we were walking from Salah, and he said he always analyzes the cars passing by. So he said, some people, they buy Ferrari. I said, so what's wrong with that, apart from it being very thirsty on the gas? He said, it's because I saw in Auto Trader, because he searches for cars. He said, I saw in Auto Trader 800,000. I said, look son, if someone pays zakah, and his money is halal, and he pays zakah, he can buy a Ferrari. Why, Ikhwan? Because he has paid what Allah said to pay. But it may be better if he buys a cheaper car for Allah and help others with that 700,000 left. Now, cheaper 100,000 only. Okay? So the point I'm making is, if the person wants to buy certain things that he wants to use in his house, let's say someone buys a very expensive house, it doesn't come under zakah. Even if he has 3 houses in which he lives, but he lives in them. Sometimes here, sometimes there. Let's go different countries, he has houses. So it should be outside of that. So it doesn't come under that. Now, yes.
What, as a result of his, wanting to buy these Ferraris or whatever, he doesn't have any money left for the car.
That is not his problem. He's not obliged to have money for zakah left. The people who pay zakah are the people who they've done everything, and they don't want to waste money, but they bought what they need to otherwise we can go too far with that. Because you bought shoes for £100, you can buy 50. So it's a very dangerous path to open. That's why the ulama don't say anything like that. Because the Prophet ﷺ didn't say. And in fact he said to have good clothes and good shoes is good. In fact he said in another hadith, the more shoes you have the better. Because as long as you have shoes you're walking. It doesn't mean someone buys 100 shoes because he's never going to use them. But within reason we mean. Let's say someone wants to buy 10 pairs of shoes and he uses them sometimes and so on. One for sport, one for something, one and so on. Within reason, because everyone understands reason. So within reason, if the person without israf, without spending in what Allah dislikes, that's israf. Not israf to spend on your guest £1,000. Some brothers sent me email, look, a'udhu billah, they put this food to the guests. Or some khayma, some tent, maybe you've seen, there's lots of food. Maybe it's a wedding, maybe it's guests. It's from culture of Islam, not Arabs only, but Arabs are the ones who taught us that, is to honor the guest by putting nice food, not biscuits. We must learn from that. Some of us we know, but in the West we become biscuit guests, whatever, I don't know. It's not correct. So it's not israf for someone to honor the guest. Israf, ikhwan, is to spend, the ulama said, in what Allah dislikes, or haram, both the same. So if the person buys what he or she needs, especially he, and even she, because a woman has to pay zakah if she has money and teaches nisab and so on, what they need within reason, then they are not obliged to do anything else if there is no money left for zakah. But a wealthy person who fears Allah, we're talking about people who fear Allah. Those who don't fear Allah, they run from zakah. Even though zakah is so small. So small. You have 10,000, you pay 250 or something. It's almost nothing. 2.5. We're talking about people who fear Allah. A person who fears Allah, he will always have either zakat to pay or no zakat to pay. In both cases, he's happy because he's happy with what Allah gave him. Now, so let's see what the sister sent. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam. Wanted to find, I'm not sure if it's, in any case, wanted to find out if you can give zakat to organization like Peace TV, because some ulama say for the propagation or spreading of Islam. No. It's not allowed. Why? Because this opens the door for everything. This closes the door for the fuqara. This closes the door for poor people. Peace TV is not in need of your money, and even if it is, they should get it elsewhere. They should not take zakah. And I didn't know Peace TV takes zakah.
Well, can you give it to them as sadaqah?
Yeah, give sadaqah. Not as zakah, because zakah Allah specified. Otherwise, ikhwan, poor people will never get zakah at all. I'll tell you straight. And they don't. How many brothers you know here who need it? Some people say there's no one who needs zakah. It's not true. They all sent to Pakistan, Sudan, Yemen, Somalia. Where are the wealthy people there? Where? They're running from zakah? Let us think for a minute. $1 million in Yemen can feed, what do you think, how many people? And that's one trader can give that. Because some mashayikh told me in some countries, some trade tujjar, they bring 100 million zakah. Where are the traders? You want to tell me in Pakistan, Sudan, and those countries there are no rich people left? That's a lie. Where are they? That's something to think about. How do we classify who the ulama are? Very good question. Because they say some ulama said to give peace TV. I don't know any alim who said it. Maybe some students of knowledge. The ulama, it's a discussion in itself, it's a lecture. Who are the ulama? Who the ulama are? The ulama, like Imam Malik rahimahullah said, لا ينبغي للرجل أن يرى نفسه شيئا حتى يستشير أهل العلم. Imam Malik said rahimahullah, no one should think of himself anything until he asks the ulama. Because the real ulama, they don't have hasad. If you are worth it, they will say you are a alim. I.e., one of those conditions, the ulama say that you are a alim. Another is correct understanding. Not a person doing bid'ah and shirk is not alim. Another is a person who reached the stage where he can, with the help of what he has attained from ilm, he can deduct rulings by himself from the Quran and Sunnah, from the ilm that he has. And also, most of the time, it should be someone not young, because it takes time to get knowledge. Most of the time, not all the time, most of the time. So the ulama are those who the ulama say are ulama. And they are not, some people say, we don't know, how can you miss the stars in the sky? You can't miss them. No. Yes, please.
Could you give zakat to an organization which is spreading Tawheed? Because zakat
It's the same question as Peace TV.
Because what it is with the zakat to Islamic State, they used to zakat into jihad fronts into different countries. So
Yeah, but jihad is mentioned in the Quran. Fi sabilillah, that is jihad. But we will say which jihad? In the path of what? Not everyone, ikhwan, who fights is a mujahid. And we will see that.
And fast for that, because that's the best deed you can do.
Yeah, in Kashmir, most people worship graves. What jihad? La ilaha illallah. Yeah, I can say la ilaha illallah and worship my sheikh. That's la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah means I can't worship anyone but Allah. Anyone from Kashmir knows what I'm talking about. Anyone from Afghanistan knows what I'm talking about. That's why the ulama sometimes say this is jihad, sometimes say there's no jihad. Some jahils, they say, how come one day is jihad, one day is not jihad? Because ikhwan, sometimes the jihad conditions are there, sometimes not there. Like Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said, in his time he used to give fatwa, sometimes there is no jihad, sometimes there is jihad. Why? Because when the Muslims are not ready, they're not on Tawheed, Allah will not help them. And he said, we saw, me and other ulama, he said, when the people were going to graves and worshipping the people inside the graves and asking for barakah, asking for dua, and us making dua to them, we told them there is no jihad until we removed them from that. Then we started doing da'wah, the ulama, him and others. And then he said we worked and worked and worked until most people left that. Then we said it is wajib to do jihad. And Allah helped us. So now we come and say, people say jihad, jihad everywhere. Everyone is shaheed, everyone is mujahid. As we will see inshallah next week, not everyone who fights is a mujahid. Because mujahid is a very high word. That's why people use it. Like sheikh. Even Dajjal now is sheikh. Even the guy who says you can worship anything is sheikh. Or not? Yes, because sheikh is a nice word. No one says, yeah, Fadilat Dajjal. No one says, oh liar, can I be your student? Everyone says sheikh. Mujahid is a nice word. Shaheed, I told you last week, one who, even kafir, they say shaheed. Some said, Allah rahim Stalin. May Allah have rahmah on Stalin. Man, how? We talked about demonstrations. Now people who don't pray shaheed, people who kill themselves are shaheed. Since when? Since when? Yani the person killed himself for vegetables. He became shaheed. I'm not trying to laugh, but that's what people are saying, ikhwan. Some ulama said the person who kills himself is a kafir. It's not correct if he didn't say it was halal to do so. Mustahil. Now everyone is mujahid, everyone is shaheed, everyone is sheikh, everyone, nothing bad left. We're all the best. And yet we see nothing, no improvement. So many mujahids, so many ulama, so-called, so many shuhada. Where is Nasr? One brother asked me once to do a lecture. Entitled, he said, Nasrullahi Qareeb. The help of Allah, the victory is close. I said, can I advise you? He said, yes. I said, let's rephrase the title. He said, how? With a question mark at the end. Hal Nasrullahi Qareeb? Let's analyze a little bit. Not be in with rosy glasses, yeah? Pink glasses. We see everything nice. Everyone's sheikh and mujahid and shaheed. There's no one left bad, doing haram or doing. Most Muslims use riba. Most, I challenge you to find the number of Muslims in Nottingham and ask how they bought their houses. How? Through riba. Then they will give you 1,000 fatwas that it's okay. So how can we say jihad when we are in haram? Most of the Muslims in haram. What jihad? They used to say, the Sahaba, إنما Abu Dharr said in Sahih Bukhari, إنما تقاتلون بأعمالكم. You fight with your deeds that you did before. What you did before, you fight with them. If you did bad, you will lose. So, أعمالكم عمالكم, they used to say. Your deeds are your rulers. So there is no jihad, meaning except the ulama when they say, the top ulama. And like I told you before, issues of jihad and issues of blood spilling, issues of dima, this is not for everyone to give fatwa. If we can't give fatwa in wudu without ilm, how can we give fatwa in jihad without ilm? Wudu is serious and jihad is very serious. So we have to fear Allah, all of us. And if there is no more questions, inshallah, we... Naam. Okay.
Can I ask about zakat again?
Yes.
If you exceed the nisab,
Yeah.
do you pay
The whole amount.
the whole amount for a whole year? Then on what do you pay? On the day that you are due your zakat, if you're
Okay.
someone who receives a salary, do you look at your account then and say the percentage of that amount?
Yeah. To be honest, Ikhwan, it's a very good question. First of all, the nisab, I'm just repeating. The nisab, it starts, where does it start? And if it exceeds the nisab, what amount? First of all, you should start from the day it exceeds the nisab. And for that, in my view, it's important to differentiate between your, you can say maybe current account, where you take in, take out, put in, take out, and another account maybe, where the money you don't need is there. Or if it's one account, then if it exceeds that, because if it's one, if there is a problem, you may go into it. But if you know for sure, from the time that you exceed the nisab, it starts ticking, the clock. Then when the whole Islamic year passes, you pay zakah on the whole amount that not exceeded the whole amount. So if it's 10,000, 10,000. If it's 100,000, 100,000, and so on. Now. بارك الله فيك. جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.